Finally, I think we have one last topic that we may want to explore relative to the selection of instructional services and program supports.
That is the last part of the IEP. We have talked about the vision, we've done our present levels, we've written measurable goals, and we've talked about how we're going to monitor progress, and now we need to select our instructional services and program supports that we're going to implement, because that also has to be noted on the IEP. There's an interesting statement in the IDEA that was reauthorized this last time that talks specifically about the fact that the IEP needs to contain a statement of the special education and related services and supplemental aids and services based on peer-reviewed research to the extent practicable that is to be provided to the child. So there is a much greater emphasis these days on making sure that what we're going to provide for students is actually has a research base, or that it at least has been proven to be effective. And again, these services and supports are expected to help the student advance appropriately toward attaining the annual goal, as well as be involved and make progress in the general curriculum. So, what are some of the things that we might ask? Some questions or considerations when selecting instructional supports and program, or instructional services and program supports. The first thing we want to ask, is there any research that shows that this is effective? And if it's not research-based in the what we call the gold standard, it hasn't been published in peer-reviewed journals, do we have evidence that it is effective for the student that we're going to be using this instructional service for or program support? We want to make sure that it matches with the needs of the student. And here's a very important one, we want to make sure that it is culturally appropriate. And so that we need to take into consideration the cultural aspects of the student and the family, and make sure that that instructional service or the program support that we're choosing is a good match. We want to make sure that it is aligned with the general curriculum. We will most likely use something that in special education, in the specialized instruction, that is different from what is being used in the general curriculum. What we really want to make sure of, though, is that what we are teaching has an alignment to what is being taught in the general curriculum, even if it's a different set of materials or if it's a different approach. The basic content is still well aligned with that general curriculum. We want to see whether or not the service or support will require an accommodation or modification within the general classroom, because that needs to also be noted on the IEP, that the program support that is going to be given to the student might involve an accommodation or a modification. And we also need to have this conversation about what implications this has for participation in the state or district-wide assessment, so that the parent isn't surprised when they find that the results of the statewide assessment aren't what they might expect, or when they find out that the student might be given a modified assessment rather than the same assessment that everyone else gets. So those are the questions that make up that conversation around the selection of instructional services and program supports before we move into the implementation process and the monitoring progress and starting all over again. There are some resources that have been provided for you as a listing that you can download. I believe, Anne, that's included with all the materials.
It is included. Thank you so much, Carol, and hopefully those resources will be of use. And with that, we'll bring Module 3 to a close, and I'd like to thank all of you viewers for participating in this 3-module session. helping you to learn those basic skills for developing a standards-based IEP. It was a valuable collaboration on our part, I know, and I'm thankful that you were able to make some use of this. I'd also like to thank Carol for bringing her expertise and insights to our group. They'll be very valuable. They'll be quite helpful.
Well, I should say thank you. It's actually been kind of fun. It's been a little bit different way of doing a professional development. But I also want to underscore something that you just said. This is intended to be sort of an overview of a good IEP process, pulling the concept of standards into the IEP process and development. It's going to take a lot more work, and it's expected, I expect that you would go back to your state or at your district level and now really begin to dig into those standards. There will be a lot of work that needs to be done to do the drill down to really understand how those standards really get to be developed into good, effective goals. So this is the easy part. There's still more work to be done, I think.
I think you're right, Carol. So please use this tool to your benefit. And as a reminder, because there will be varying expectations from state to state, any questions you might have on the specific development of your standards-based IEPs, please direct those to either your district or your state level administrators.
And Ann, they can come back and view different parts of it at
All
any
over
time.
again. We're
That's
right here. Thanks.